I've been told that choosing a politician is like trying to take a bus and not booking an Uber. You take the bus that gets you closest to where you're going because the politician who gets you exactly where you want to go does not exist. Whether it's because we couldn't bring ourselves to vote for a progressive candidate because they happened to get caught cussing on camera, he says as his eyes roll completely out of his head, or helping a Republican get elected because the Democrat did not meet our exact, incredibly specific criteria for filling in the box next to their name, we are well past the crossroads for the future of America. In November 2024, almost 38% of McLennan County voters sat the election out. It is about finding the right transportation back from this tipping point. And for me, personally, as a school teacher, James Talarico is that rare Uber type of politician. A former public school teacher himself, a seminarian, a champion of basic dignity and human rights for all people, and not just those who are politically convenient at the time. Representative Talarico is a breath of fresh air in an increasingly toxic environment. And he's running against John Cornyn, a man who is proud to say in his campaign ads that he votes with the president 99% of the time. If a ham sandwich was on the ballot against John Cornyn, I would slam my hand on the table and put a ham sandwich 2026 sign in my front yard. But it doesn't have to be that way. The great state of Texas, under the leadership of Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, Ken Paxton, John Cornyn, and Ted Cruz, has become the failed state of Texas. Texans are looking and longing for a new direction, a direction that does take us exactly where we want to go. And it is my honor to introduce the man who can lead us there, the next junior senator from Texas, James Talarico.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it, thank you. Thank you all for having me. It feels so good to be in Waco. Thank you all. Thank you. It is a true honor to be here with all of you, and it's so great to be back in Waco. So when I was growing up, my grandparents, my mama and my papa, they lived in Fort Worth, Texas, and we lived in Round Rock. And so we would make the drive to go to see them in Fort Worth. My parents would drive me halfway here to Waco. We would meet my grandparents at the Whataburger. They would pick me up and take me the rest of the way to Fort Worth. So growing up, I always thought of Waco as a magical place because that was where I got to see my grandparents, and it was where I was always trying to get. So I still get that feeling every time I'm driving up 35 to come up here to Waco. This city means so much to me, and the work that y'all are doing here is an inspiration to everyone across the state of Texas. So thank you. You know, I've gotten to spend the day here. This morning I was invited to worship with a local church here in Waco, Mosaic Church, which is a wonderful, wonderful community. And the work that y'all are doing here is also spiritual work. It's fitting that we're having a rally for democracy on a Sunday, because democracy is not just voting in elections. It's not just institutions and laws. Democracy is a spiritual practice. It's the practice of listening to each other, of serving one another, of working together, of resolving our conflicts nonviolently. It requires a humility that we don't have all the right answers, and it requires a deep love for our neighbors, especially our neighbors who are the most different from us. True democracy is nonviolent self-governance of thy neighbor, by thy neighbor, for thy neighbor. And I am so thankful that y'all are here fighting to protect that democratic experiment. So, as Coach Yasko mentioned, I am now running for the United States Senate. And I've been on the campaign trail for about a month now, and I've gotten to go to every corner of this beautiful state. I've been overwhelmed by the response that we've been getting all over Texas. Thousands of Texans have been showing up to rally with us in Round Rock in Houston, in Dallas, in San Antonio, in Deep Red, Longview, Texas, and Victoria, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley, in Fort Worth, in San Angelo. We are really going everywhere, talking to everyone. And it's not just campaign events. When I was in Houston, I joined the picket line with striking hotel workers who are demanding better wages and better working conditions. And then a few days after that, I visited Pine Tree High School in rural East Texas, where I judged the cookie bake-off between their culinary students. And I ate 12 cookies in a row. I have no regrets. That's because we are running a campaign of, by, and for the people. That's exactly what this movement is all about. I first launched my campaign for the Texas House of Representatives 8 years ago, back home in Williamson County. And back then, I was told the race was unwinnable. I was told flipping a Trump district was impossible. I was told I was too young. I was told I didn't have the money or the political connections to win. I was the underdog in that race. But my neighbors and I, we ran an aggressive, authentic, unorthodox campaign that brought people together. And on election night, we flipped that district with 51% of the vote. Now I'm the underdog once again. We're all the underdogs in this fight. But my life has shown me always bet on the underdog. When I was a public school teacher in San Antonio, I saw firsthand how my students struggled heroically to overcome poverty, overcome racism, overcome systems that were designed to hold them back. My students weren't just kids, they were survivors, dreamers, fighters. I saw it in their eyes every day in the classroom, this unshakable resolve, this unconquered spirit. Growing up, I saw that same fight in my mom, a preacher's daughter from Laredo, Texas, who left home at 19. She moved up to Austin. She met my birth father, a 21-year-old high school dropout whose drinking problem sometimes led to violence. One night, he became abusive again. But that night, my mother's love rose to meet it. And she packed all our stuff into her little Ford Escort. She drove me to the hotel where she worked. She begged the manager to let us stay in one of the rooms until we found this little apartment in East Austin. And there wasn't room for a nursery, so I slept in a crib in her closet. And she was so proud of that closet. She decorated it with toys and pictures. No one was going to tell her it wasn't a nursery. Always bet on the underdog. You know, what I've seen already in this campaign is that we need fighters, not folders. We need people who know how to stand up to bullies, people who are going to fight for our values, fight for our freedoms. Like my student, my mom was a fighter. And back then, she looked over at the state capitol and she saw Texas Democrats like Ann Richards and Bob Bullock fighting for her. And so when I was 5 years old, no joke, she told me we were Democrats. Because she said, Democrats fight for the people. Now, if we're being very honest, we haven't seen that kind of fight from the National Democratic Party in quite a while. Imagine a Democratic Party that stands up to big money and isn't captured by it. Imagine a Democratic Party that listens to the people, not DC consultants. Imagine a Democratic Party that delivers on housing, healthcare, education, and actually defeats the right-wing extremists who have taken over this country. National Democrats don't know how to fight. They're comfortable on the coasts, and they're comfortable with the status quo. But there's something about living in a red state that makes you scrappy. Because Texas Democrats know how to fight. Whether it was LBJ pushing the Great Society through Congress, or Barbara Jordan impeaching Richard Nixon, or Wendy Davis holding the floor of the Texas Senate for 13 hours, or Beto O'Rourke interrupting Greg Abbott's press conference in Uvalde, or Texas House Democrats breaking quorum to shine a national spotlight on Trump's redistricting power grab. Texas Democrats know how to fight. We know how to fight for the people. We know how to fight for the underdogs. That's what we do. We fight for the many against the powerful few, whether they're bullies, bigots, or billionaires. You know, the more I see what's happening in this state and in this country, the more I think the only minority destroying America is the billionaires. Trans people are 1% of the population. Muslims, 1% of the population. Undocumented people, 1% of the population. We are all focused on the wrong 1%. Trans people aren't taking away our health care. Muslims aren't defunding our schools. Immigrants aren't cutting taxes for themselves and their rich friends. It's the billionaires and their puppet politicians. The culture wars are a smokescreen. So many of the divisions in this state and in this country are manufactured by billionaires who want us fighting each other so we're not fighting them. They want us looking left and right at each other so we're not looking up at them. The biggest divide in our country is not left versus right. It's top versus bottom. The people at the top, the Elon Musks, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Rupert Murdochs of the world, they work so hard to keep us angry and divided because our unity is a threat to their wealth and their power. So their social media algorithms and their cable news networks divide us on an hourly, daily basis. They divide us by party, by race, by gender, by religion. So we don't notice that they're picking our pockets. So we don't notice that they're defunding our schools, gutting our health care, and cutting taxes for themselves while they raise taxes on all of us. They're trying to keep us from seeing all that we have in common. They're trying to keep us from realizing that there is far more that unites us than divides us. Because once we do, we will come together across party, across race, across gender, across religion, to take power back for ourselves and our communities. The richest 1% of Americans now own more wealth than the entire middle class. 3 men, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, now own more wealth than 165 million Americans combined. And they're using that wealth to rig our political system. They own the media. They own social media. They own politicians in both political parties. These billionaires aren't just buying yachts and jets, they're buying power. Our schools are being defunded so billionaires can get another tax break. Our healthcare premiums are about to go up so billionaires can get another tax break. Our Social Security benefits are constantly under threat so billionaires can get yet another tax break. With this kind of corruption, it's easy to be cynical about politics. But inside every cynic is a wounded idealist. Deep down, we all know it doesn't have to be this way. Deep down, we all feel that we deserve better than this. That's why I am not taking a dime of corporate PAC money in this race for U.S. Senate. It's why Our campaign is being funded by working people giving $5, $10, $15 at a time, and it's why we are seeking to build the largest grassroots movement that Texas has ever seen. Yes, the deck is stacked. Yes, the system is rigged. But these are man-made systems, and we, the people, can take them back. You know, there is something broken in America. Our economy is broken. Our political system is broken. Even our relationships with each other feel broken. And that's because the most powerful people in the world want it that way. My faith teaches me to love my neighbor as myself. Not just my neighbor who looks like me. Not just my neighbor who prays like me. Not just my neighbor who votes like me. I am called to love all of my neighbors the way I love myself, because despite all of our many differences, we all want the same things: a safe neighborhood, a good job, a high-quality, well-funded public school, and the ability to see a doctor when we need one. But those billionaires who own the algorithms, who own the news networks, who own the politicians fighting on our screens, they want us at each other's throats. They want us focused on how we're different instead of on how we're the same. I am tired of being pitted against my neighbor. I am tired of being told to hate my neighbor. It's been more than 10 years of this kind of politics. Politics as blood sport. Politics as trolling and owning. Politics as total war. It tears families apart. It ends friendships, and it leaves us all feeling terrible all of the time. As I travel this state, I get the sense that across the political spectrum, there is a deep hunger for a different kind of politics. Not a politics of hate, not a politics of fear, not a politics of division, but a politics of love. A love that can heal what's broken in America. You know, I probably shouldn't start a political campaign by saying nice things about my opponent, but Colin Allred is a good man. He was our Democratic nominee in the last cycle, and I was out there with many of you trying to help him defeat Ted Cruz. At the time, I said Ted Cruz is the worst senator in America. But looking at the current Republican field for this Senate seat, I think that title may be up for grabs. Neither John Cornyn nor Ken Paxton deserve the honor of representing this great state in our nation's capital. Both of them are far more interested in serving their billionaire mega donors than serving the people of this state. Both of them have sold us out time and time again. Ken Paxton's crimes are well known. I was part of the bipartisan majority in the Texas House that impeached our corrupt Attorney General. But I think John Cornyn may be even more corrupt than Ken Paxton, because John Cornyn was the deciding vote on that big, ugly bill. That ugly bill that's going to kick millions of Texans off their health care. That ugly bill that's going to take food out of the mouths of hungry Texas children, all to give a tax break to his donors. We oftentimes think corruption is something that's illegal, but corruption is really just the betrayal of the public's trust. It is the abuse of a public office. By casting that deciding vote on that big, ugly bill, John Cornyn committed an act of corruption of the highest order, and he has forfeited the right to represent all of us in the United States Senate. Both Cornyn and Paxton like to say that they stand for freedom, family, and faith. But you can't stand for freedom and control what we say, what we read, or what we do with our own bodies. You can't stand for family and vote against paid family leave, affordable child care, and our neighborhood public schools. And you certainly can't stand for faith and sell out the sick, the poor, and the vulnerable, all to give tax cuts to the rich. John Cornyn and Ken Paxton don't stand for freedom, family, and faith. They stand for control, cruelty, and corruption. And that's exactly why we have to defeat them in 2026. I want to leave y'all with one last thought. My granddad was a Baptist preacher in South Texas. And when I was real little, he told me that we follow a barefoot rabbi who gave 2 commandments: love God and love neighbor. Because there is no love of God without love of neighbor. Every single person bears the image of the sacred. Every single person is holy. Every single person counts. This American experiment started with that same self-evident truth that all people are created equal. This democracy of ours is a lot more than a constitution. It's a covenant. It's a relationship between neighbors. It's a promise that we make to each other to share this country. Those billionaires and their puppet politicians are breaking that sacred promise. And breaking promises in a relationship is not love, it's abuse. And my mom showed me that true love doesn't tolerate abuse. 2,000 years ago, when the powerful few abused the many, that barefoot rabbi walked into the seat of power and flipped over the tables of injustice. His love rose to meet that abuse without becoming it. So to those who love this state, to those who love this country, to those who love democracy, it's time to start flipping tables. That is the work that y'all are doing here in Waco. That's what my granddad taught me. That's what my mom taught me on the east side of Austin. It's what my students taught me on the west side of San Antonio. It's what LBJ and Barbara Jordan taught me. It's what Wendy and Beto taught me. It's what y'all are teaching the country with this movement here. And in 2026, it's how we will take back this state and this country for the underdogs. Thank you all so much for being here. God bless you. Let's go win this thing. Thank you.